start over with the microphone on. So it's 5:30. I'll call the May 8th, 2023 regular council meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
I'm declaring pecuniary interest on any discussion around the BIA art installations, as I am a director on the board of SWATZ, which is the funder of that project.
Thank you very much. Is there any further declarations of pecuniary interest? Is Councillor Hughes on the call on the? Okay, let's clarify when we come back in, since he's not here. Seeing no others, we will now call on Councillor Van Kootenbosens for a resolution to go into closed session, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Kootenbosens, that the council do now go into a closed meeting at 5:31 p.m. pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters. Section 239(2)(a), the security of the property of the municipality or local board, state of digital infrastructure and disaster recovery.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now go into the J.C. Herbert room. I will call on Deputy Mayor Wilson for the consent agenda, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the items contained in the May 8th, 2023 consent agenda be adopted as presented.
Any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move on to the minutes from the regular council meeting of April 11th. Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the minutes for the April 11th, 2023 regular meeting of the council be adopted as presented.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we will now move on to special reports. Number 1, volunteer policy. Mr. Grace, please.
As you can tell from this report, this policy was developed using the best practices provided from our insurance company, Intact Insurance, and utilizing the experience gained by other municipalities that have developed this policy previously. It's a fairly onerous process to set up a volunteer policy, and effectively it's like hiring staff. Therefore, at this time, staff are recommending we start with about a dozen volunteers and run it as a pilot project that we would manage this year, and learn from that and grow from that and expand it in 2024. There will be costs and there will be time that it will take to implement this. We will be making suggestions in the budget process for 2024 on how we can expand that process. This volunteer policy was a part of the strategic plan, and we're bringing it forward because of that.
Excellent. Paul, is there a way to have Councillor Hughes on this screen? I just want to make sure he's heard if he has questions. Thank you very much for that. Are there questions of the report? Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not so much questions as just a couple of comments. First of all, I stated a number of years ago, I have a little bit of an issue with our insurance provider being our risk assessor. I still feel it's a conflict of interest when we have our insurance company who's making money from telling us what we can't do in order to save them money. Second of all, I hope that this type of policy doesn't necessarily scare people away from wanting to volunteer. It seems to be a rather onerous process for basically having volunteers not do much. I've been a volunteer for the town for probably 30 plus years. And I know we used to sit around and try and figure out how we were going to get things done and go ahead and get it done. I just think with the assessment and with what I'm reading here, we're going to be sitting around saying, what can we do? We can't do much anymore. We're going to spend too much time just trying to figure out what we're allowed to do or how we can arrange to get staff to help us with things, when before the volunteerism was based on qualifications of the volunteer, what their experience was and what equipment they had. I just hope this isn't going to be too cumbersome.
Further questions?
Councillor Hughes?
Yes, councillors, please go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to echo what Councillor Bowman just said and ask the question in regards to, so you went to the, Michael, your staff went to the insurance company for their best practices. Did you talk with other municipalities that have actual volunteer policies in place that have been working positively and helping the communities and the volunteers get matched up?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, through you. Yes, what most larger municipalities than us that have a volunteer policy are doing this kind of a policy because their insurer is recommending it. It's pretty common nowadays. There are a lot of municipalities that are smaller that don't really have volunteer policies. But as council is aware, and as I've been saying for a long time, we're going from being a small town to being a small city. We are needing to grow and change what we do. I know it is cumbersome, but this is, what staff are tasked with doing all the time for you guys, is to bring forward the best practices and try and implement them as best as possible. We recognize it may be onerous, but we think as people get more used to it, and we do know, I should also say, we do know some service clubs and stuff that have started to implement some much more onerous rules from their insurance companies as well. So,
Do Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Hughes?
No, it's just, that's basically was the question. Similar to Councillor Bowman, it's difficult when you have insurance companies telling you how to, I get it because, you know, they're trying to protect us as well in regards to any litigation that we may be involved in, but it, you know, almost falls into the what if scenario. Well, we can't do it because what if? It just, and when it's just a matter of just going out, getting it done and walking away. So it's hopefully it's going to work out. I think that's a good idea to start with this and then see where we can critique it. That's going to be better for us as the town of Ingersoll, if you want to, you know, key the phrase, you know, a made in Ingersoll approach to this whole scenario.
Any further questions of the report? Seeing none, can I ask Councillor Hughes to, if you're willing to move the recommendation, please?
Yes, moved by Councillor Hughes that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report A-005-23 as information, and that Council adopts the recommendations in report number A-005-23, and further that Council directs staff to bring forward the volunteer policy bylaw for consideration, and further that Council directs staff to proceed with the with approximately a dozen volunteer positions as a pilot project.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens. Discussion. Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I have more comment than I do anything. I'm in agreement with the previous two councillors that have spoke to this. I second the motion so that I can get it on the floor and we can have more of a discussion as well. I appreciate the work that staff have put into getting the volunteer policy. I know we've been criticized as staff and as council that it's taken a long time. It has taken time. We've had a lot on our plate, and I appreciate the time that staff have put into this. So I do want to see us move forward. We have to move forward. We can't sit. I'm part of that service groups out there that has worked around the town volunteer policy to continue to move our volunteers in a direction that they can get out there and help us and do what they can. We just had the Ingersoll community cleanup that brought out 50 volunteers. And I have to say, I'm very grateful for those people that were able to come out and do what they could. We did that because we used the Qantas insurance and we moved around it, and we still had people sign in and do their thing, and we asked them to be safe at all that they did, if there was any needles out there, the whole bit. Do I recognize that, yes, we need to, we have to start somewhere and we have to do something. I don't want to see us drag our feet. I would love to see this a little bit quicker than in a year. How's that sound? But we have to start somewhere, and if we can still continue to work with all of our community service groups, can still continue to do their part and work with the town in that respect and be able to do their part, and we can move forward this volunteer. I understand the risk that we have to mitigate. We've also been in a place where risk management was a whole lot more thrown down on us, and it's not as bad, but we're learning from that risk management as well. And so I have to say that I probably end up supporting this just so that we can continue to move forward. I don't know if I've helped any other councillors at this table in that respect, but those are my thoughts at this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
I would echo all of the comments that have been said already, which is why I haven't said too much. But I think the other thing that I'd like to see is that we are engaging these volunteers in the review process, because what we don't want is for this policy to turn volunteers away who have been giving their time over the past number of years. So incorporating their feedback in how this process could work for them, recognizing the risk that we also have to be conscious of, I think would be really helpful to make sure we continue to engage those volunteers and don't turn them away when we're trying to involve them more.
Further discussion? Councillor Hudson, please.
I just wanted to say that I agree with what Lindsay's saying, and even putting out a simple survey to people and asking what they want to do, what they're interested in, instead of us kind of saying, this is what we have available, so if you don't fit this bracket, then, you know, there's not a place for you. So I think that's another thing we could ask to be done.
Further discussion? So I appreciate all the work staff has done, and it has been a lot of work. The truth is that the world is not the same place it was 30 years ago. You know, I know my parents, you know, they volunteered at schools, and that was just the way of life. Unfortunately, the courts have ruled that a volunteer equals an employee. And so we want to make sure that every single one of our employees are trained to a high standard, so when they go do things, they are there, and they're safe, and they have the equipment and resources that they need to. So I really think we need to remember that volunteer equals employee. It's just in this time they're volunteering their time. And so we have to make sure that they are up to the same, they get the same training, because that's only fair. I want to also say that please don't be turned away by this process. That's what it's there for, is to make sure that you have those skills and the resources that you need to be a successful volunteer for the town. And so after going through the process, I really don't think it's that onerous. Most of the stuff is up front. I agree with staff of implementing this on an interim, what's the word? A pilot project, and the reason that is not because volunteers don't know what they're doing, but staff need to really work out the kinks in the program and make sure it does provide all those critical things that we need to make sure the volunteers are there. And certainly, I agree, recognition is definitely necessary, because people are giving their time to make their community a great place, and they should be recognized for that. Again, I want to point out too, there's great options out there already available through our great service clubs. You know, that spring cleanup, when it was moved away from the town because of liability reasons, our service clubs all came together and came together to make sure that happened, and it certainly can, and there's lots of other opportunities. I know that all service clubs would be happy to have members join. There's always a need out there, so there's different options and different mandates for everybody's interest groups. Yeah, make sure you apply, go to get the proper training, and then we can move forward, and staff can learn what works best for Ingersoll, and then we can improve this program and keep it moving forward. Because at the end of the day, we do need have people participate in our community. This is not the final iteration by any means. It's just the beginning. So it's a strong way to do that, and we'll continue to go forward. Any further discussion? Councillor Hudson, please.
Just curious as to where, say, the first positions will be park cleanup opportunities. How did we decide that? Just as being the first 12
Absolutely.
positions?
Mr. Graves.
From a staff perspective, part of the process will be to actually create job descriptions and to put them out there, advertise them. And so we really felt like we wanted to try a pilot project, so we wanted to create something that we thought we could manage in the first year of the process. So knowing what has happened with some of the service clubs and some of the cleanup and stuff, we thought that was a very opportune possibility. And it was one that we could learn from and put out there. We thought we'd get a good response. And so it was really just an attempt to come up with a pilot project.
Would you like to follow up on that, Councillor Hudson? Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving on, we will go to number 2, which is graphic image delivery bylaw. Mr. Graves, please.
Actually, I think I'm going to turn this one over to our clerk.
Why, thank you. So this report is presented to council in response to direction provided at the March regular meeting, in which council directed staff to provide a report to review and comment on the City of Woodstock's bylaw to regulate the unsolicited delivery of graphic images to its residents. The genesis of Woodstock's graphic image delivery bylaw is the City of London's, which was adopted in May of last year. Both municipalities, lucky for us, obtained legal opinion on the enforceability of such bylaws, especially as they relate to charter rights, and both received advice on appropriate wording and parameters, which is reflected in the staff report in front of you. Interestingly, I learned today the City of St. Catharines just had a closed session meeting with their legal counsel on this matter, during which they considered the legal implications of implementing a similar bylaw, but with provisions to also capture hate speech. Fortunately, that matter was deferred to their meeting next week, but I include all of this in my overview to really convey to council that bylaws on these matters are becoming more common means of responding to resident concerns, but are still being tested legally in terms of their enforceability as they relate to statutes with primacy, so the Ontario Human Rights Code or the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. As identified in the report, staff do recommend that if council is desirous of adopting a bylaw to regulate the delivery of graphic images, that Ingersoll's bylaw really not deviate from the precedent set by London or Woodstock, just to limit the town's exposure to unnecessary legal challenges. And they got really good information, so I think it would be good to replicate theirs. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions of the report? Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, to staff, have we had any complaints in regards to what has been happening in Woodstock and London?
Clerk, please.
We haven't had any recent complaints, but I know that there were some images circulated. Forgive me. It's a while back, and I don't know if the town received any formal complaints, but there was definitely complaints online. There was definitely some conversation within the community about those images that were circulated to homes within Ingersoll.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I will ask that Councillor Bowman, you have a resolution, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-015-23 as information, and that Council direct staff to draft a graphic image delivery bylaw to be considered at the next regular council meeting.
Discussion? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
I want to thank staff for bringing this information forward, because obviously we want to be really informed with the bylaw. But I'll add that what I've learned is the more municipalities that pass bylaws like this, it kind of strengthens the rest. So while it is being challenged, the more municipalities that do it, the less it will be challenged in the future. So I think that's a positive thing. And the second thing I'll add is I have received nothing but positive correspondence about seeing this come forward to council, and no opposition about this. So I think this is really responding to what the public would like to see, which is exactly what we're here for. So thank you for the work you put into the report.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move on to item number 3, ERTH Annual General Meeting of Shareholders. Mr. Grace, please.
As is common on an annual basis, so ERTH holds their annual general meeting, and we usually appoint members to attend at that regard. And so we're putting forth a resolution here for council to advise us who they would like to attend that AGM and represent the town.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the report? Seeing none, before I ask for a resolution, I'll get some direction from council. Are there any members who are wanting to attend? I will put my name forward as one. Councillor Hughes?
Yes, I'll put my name forward as one.
Deputy Mayor Wilson, I saw your hand as well. Are there any further? Seeing none, I just wait for Councillor Hudson to, perfect, and I will ask her for a resolution when she's ready. Thank you.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report C-01623 as information, and that Council appoint the following members of Council to attend ERTH's 2023 annual meeting of shareholders: Mayor Petrie, Councillor Hughes, and Deputy Mayor Wilson. And further, that Councillor, who are we saying here? Mayor, yeah, Mayor
Yep.
Petrie. That Mayor Petrie be appointed as the designated representative for the purpose of casting a vote for the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll at the 2023 ERTH AGM, and further that council direct the clerk to submit the list of attendees and designates representatives for the purpose of casting a vote to the attention of ERTH no later than Friday, May 19th, 2023.
Excellent discussion. I just have, will staff be attending as well, and do we need their names as well?
No, I think we can make arrangements for staff to be represented.
Excellent. Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, and we will now move on to item number 4, the Development Charges Reserve Fund Statement. Mr. Grace, please.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this one immediately over to Irina, who I'm delighted to have back with us to assist us. So.
Thank you. So this report is being submitted as a requirement of the Development Charges Act that requires the treasurer of a municipality to prepare and submit every year a report to council that outlines all the transactions related to the development charges. So we have to list, the report should contain opening, closing balances, and anything that, all the revenues we collected during the year, and any disbursements for capital or operating purposes. So the report contains that information, and it's attached to the, you can see the actual statement attached to the report. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them. And once approved, it will be placed online for public.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the report? Seeing none. Can I have Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens with a resolution, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report number T-011-23 as information, and that the 2022 Development Charges Reserve Fund Statement be made available to the public.
Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I will now call on Councilor Van, would you be willing to make a motion to have a 9-minute break until 7 p.m., please? Yes. Seconder for that? Deputy Mayor, please. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? We will reconvene at 7 p.m. for our delegations, please. Thank you. We'll call the meeting back to order. I will now call upon our first delegation, Ted Komisky. Building dedication, Daryl Parker, please. Mr. Komisky.
Thank you, and thank you, Council, for allowing me to bring this presentation to you. And I hope it is acceptable and we can do something with respect towards a person who fully deserves recognition within the town of Ingersoll. What we'd like to have happen is that the fire station not lose its big, large sign out front which says John Ingersoll Fire Station. Is that what it says? Yeah, Ingersoll Fire Station. Nothing for that to change whatsoever, but to, at the head of that, between the two trees, to have a monument that would say Darrell E. Parker, Fire Station number 1. And Chief Darrell E. Parker, Fire Station number 1. Darrell Parker is, in my opinion, a fantastic person and certainly a phenomenal drive towards the betterment of the town of Ingersoll throughout his life. Darrell was born in Ingersoll, went to grade school here and also went to high school here, built homes with his dad throughout the town. His dad was a contractor, built some beautiful homes. And then, taking it, volunteer firefighter in 1980. He joined the fire department as a volunteer fireman. He became a full fireman in 1982. And in 1984, he was fire captain. 1994, deputy fire coordinator for the county of Oxford. 1990, he became fire chief, community emergency management coordinator for the town of Ingersoll. In 1998, fire chief, contracted through the town of Ingersoll for the township of Norwich. He was fire coordinator for the county of Oxford, appointed by the Fire Marshal of Ontario. In 2010, he was deputy chief administrative officer of the town of Ingersoll. 2011, chief administrative officer for the town of Ingersoll. Darrell didn't stop there. He's been active in the community throughout, not only with the Rotarian Club, Rotary, but also just being active, participating. Fire Marshal's Working Group for the Development of Performance of Measurements and Benchmarking for the Ontario Fire Service. Common Language Workshop Group for the Development of the Municipal Incident Management System for the Ontario Fire Service. Fire Science Technology Program Advisory Committee, Lambton College. Pre-Service Firefighter Education and Training Program Advisory Committee, Lambton College. Ingersoll Police Services Board. He's been chairperson of that, and he's been board chairperson for the Children's Aids for the Society for Oxford County. He's a man that's taken his whole life and stayed within Ingersoll and did his best to promote the protection and the safety of us all. Not all of us, I suppose, would remember the great fire that took place downtown Ingersoll that took out 3 stores. Darrell Parker was fire chief then. He was recognized phenomenally throughout Ontario for his ability to direct other towns, cities, fire departments to save the downtown area, to keep it local, to keep it within those buildings that it was. And he was recognized for doing that. Darrell won't be with us too long. Darrell has terminal cancer. I think it is us who have to stand up, recognize people within our town, what they have done for us through their life, and recognize it. It is not a tradition to name a building after someone that is still alive. I understand that. But this is a time right now to stand and say, this person deserves this to take place. There are a group of people that would like to see this happen, and can I show this slide? There it is. This is a fire bell that a lot of these things are being supported and reduced in price because of the respect they have for Daryl, knowing this is happening. And this bell is one of those that we're getting, possibly getting at a reduced rate if this is all acceptable by the town of Ingersoll. It would read, Ingersoll Fire Services, Fire Chief Daryl E. Parker, Station Number 1. And if you can read closely on the back, I suppose I could read it to you, what it actually says. And that is written by Daryl himself, not at this point in time, but by Daryl. Honored to have served the town of Ingersoll alongside the dedicated men and women of Ingersoll Fire Services, who have demonstrated their commitment to the community through education, training, and sacrifice. Together we have helped shape the face of the public safety with integrity, innovation, teamwork, and service above all. And that would be signed by Daryl Parker. And it would read, Daryl E. Parker, retired fire chief, 23 years, community emergency management coordinator, fire coordinator, County of Oxford, chief administrative officer, town of Ingersoll. I'm here tonight to ask permission to have this happen, to have this take place, to have this group of people jump and make it work for something like June 1st. We know there's a cost involved with it. It's 47, roughly. I got to say roughly because the bell has not arrived and we don't know what tariffs it might have on it or different things, but it's right now about $4,750. And recognizing that there are people who will support this. I'm asking for your support, but please, if it is not in the budget line, then please don't let that interfere with a decision on it because it would be looked after one way or another. The ceremony may take place on June 1st. That's a Thursday at 11. And hope that Daryl is there with us. I thank you. I know a motion is later on, but if there's any questions I could give at this point in time, or answers that I could give, put it this way. I got lots of questions, answers I could give.
Are there any questions for Mr. Komisky? Seeing none. Thank you very much, sir, and we will certainly, well, I think we can deal with this right now. Are there any questions that need to be answered before you have a motion? Thank you.
Just for staff, there's a proposal it could be funded from a certain budget line, and I'm wondering if staff have a recommendation for where that might come from.
So there is a budget, as council may recall, for grants to volunteer organizations. So as I just checked, so we have about $5,000 still available. But if we also have about $3,000 dedicated to the grants to athletes and any other miscellaneous grants that council may want to give to public, to our residents. So that being said, the 5,000 include the 3,000 allowance, yes.
Further questions?
Just one more for staff, if it's reasonable for the June 1st timeline.
I'll attempt to.
Mr. Grace, please.
No problem from the staff perspective. I think we can handle that. It's really just a matter of the timing of the monument, but we can definitely work within that time frame, I think.
We have taken into account locations and everything else as far as that is concerned, so that with permission, it can start immediately.
Excellent. Are you ready for a resolution, Deputy Mayor?
I'm not sure on the amount.
Okay.
If
Would
there's,
staff council like to have a little bit of discussion first on that? The amount would, Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens.
I'll be happy to chime in and start the discussion. How's that sound? Thank you very much, Ted, for being here tonight, for bringing this forward from the community. Daryl is a great guy, and it sounds like there's some support over that way, and I would say that if we could maybe do 2,000, I don't think that it's a far reach to be looking at that. I know that there is support out there for, from within the community as well, but it would be approximately, well, if we say 5,000, it's almost half, but I would think that that's not undoable from our perspective, but that's just my opinion in that respect. And yeah, I can't think of anything else at this point, sorry.
Excellent. Any further input on that? I think it's very important for us to remember those who came before us and who have helped our community. And I think that I can support $2,000 towards this. Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the presentation from Ted Komisky regarding the dedication of the Ingersoll Fire Hall as information, and that Council approve the request to dedicate the Ingersoll Fire Hall located at 110 Mutual Street North. I'm sorry, we have to name it, and that's also blank. Okay. Thank you. The Chief Darrell Parker Fire Station Number 1, and further that this dedication be reflected on a memorial to be erected at 110 Mutual Street North, and further that Council direct the final design, dedication, and location of the memorial to be submitted to staff for approval, and that the Council allocate $2,000 towards the memorial to be funded from the Grants to Volunteer Organizations account.
Excellent. Discussion. All I'll say is thank you, Ted. Like I said, we need to recognize the people who came before us and served our community. Daryl certainly did that in a big way. He gave his whole life to Ingersoll, and that's, I think, the least we can do is remember him and what he gave to our community. And so have my full support. Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens.
One thing that I forgot, and that we're doing it while he's still with us. We so often remember those that have gone before us and that have already passed away. And if we can make this happen by June 1st, and God willing, that Daryl is able to be with us, I think I just want to see his face. That's what I want to see. He's not a person who would ever want these kind of accolades. He never struck me as that type of man. But to be able to do that, we've honored a lot of people in our community, but it's always been after the fact. Your dad. Wish we could have done what we did for him before, because to me, it's much more meaningful. So I do hope that council will support this, because I think that what we're doing is a great thing to be able to recognize somebody while they're still with us. So thank you.
Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. I will now call on Virginia Armstrong, our BIA coordinator, about the BIA art installations, please.
I think I've got this. No, I can't read that. I got mine. That's okay. This is, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I guess I can kind of read it. It's terrible. You get contacts and you get your cheaters on, then you can't see. You're like this. You have to be just so close, right? So anyway, that was a tough delegation to follow, of course. And I just have to say kudos to you for doing that. I'm a cancer survivor, and I certainly appreciate when you do things like that. I think it's amazing. Anyway, BIA art installation. Everybody got their package. So we received $77,000 from Government of Canada, the Tourism Relief Fund. That's through FedDev Ontario and SWATZ. And we had only like 6 months. As you know, the museum was in the same boat. We had about 6 months to complete all our projects. And we had 9 projects total. So I'll just go through them. If you have any questions, I don't know if you want to wait till the end of my presentation, probably best. Okay. So the Fusion Center display stands, they are going to be used for 3-dimensional work, 2-dimensional, and just any of the artwork that the students do down there. So we had 2 of those created. We had to create them. We had gone out and looking for wooden type structures, but we couldn't find anything that would be weatherproof and suitable to put things like pottery and so on in. So we decided to go with D&D Delta Machines, and they created for us exactly what we wanted. So we're just working on the finishing decals that are going on there to identify it as Fusion Center. And for all of these, I'm just making inquiries with the creator of plaques for each of the projects. So those are in the works as well. So those were created, and then we had picnic tables that were delivered to Fusion Center, and the students, they created on them and they did designs. Unfortunately, one of them was vandalized and we had to have another one brought in. And Craig and his group are currently finishing up the design on that particular table. And the crosswalks, the Indigenous crosswalk, we had met with Patricia, and I believe Patricia did a presentation to council at your last meeting from ISON with the Indigenous group. A lovely, lovely lady, and we worked very closely with her in having a Indigenous crosswalk design created, and I know that was presented to council previously as well. In going and seeing what's happening with the Pride crosswalks, we learned from those mistakes that anything that's been put on the concrete is being lifted by the snow plows. So those are already showing wear and tear. So we looked at a different location, and it's down by Mike Bowman's Mill Creek Printing there on, sorry, King Street East and Water Street, I believe. Right at the corner of the drugstore there. That was the original trail, part of the original trail for the Indigenous, and when they do their walks, even now, they cross across the street right there, so it would be a perfect location, and it is on asphalt, so we're not putting on concrete, so the longevity of that particular crosswalk is going to be a lot longer, and it'll withstand the elements much better. So from there, we have the BIA crosswalk. We ran into a bit of an issue, same thing. So we are wondering and asking permission for putting a large copy of that on the sidewalk in front of the gazebo, which will be very visible to anyone coming downtown. It's right there beyond the sidewalk portion, not on the gazebo, not on the brick. And then we were looking at each of the corners that denote the boundaries of the BIA, having it done in a smaller format, but on the corners, on the sidewalk. Because putting them on the boundaries on the street is going to not really work, because out by Thames Street North, up by the, what's the name of that? Circle K, I had the K. Circle K, that again, there's concrete. So we thought if we could put them on the sidewalks, it shows the boundaries, it would be unique, it would be something different, and it would withstand the elements much better. You're not going to have the same, you're not going to have the snow plows. And the concrete is quite doable. We've met with George Swanson from Mobile Services, and he said that would work. So we're looking to see if council would agree to that. So that is going to be one of our asks. The Black History Sculpture Project, Dwayne Kamala Thomas is from Woodstock, and he's done a magnificent job on that sculpture. And in working with the town, we are addressing the compliance issues as some of the river rock has gone out onto the sidewalk. I and myself and Gord Lesser met with Michael and Doug Widiak, and we have gone through what needs to be done. Doug is going to take care of that, so we've taken care of any of those compliance issues, and they're going to be dealt with probably within the next few weeks. We have our tour coming up of all the art installations on June the 20th. I have sent out save the date. We're still working on all the details, and of course, that's binding on us getting permission to do the Indigenous crosswalk so that we can move forward and finish our plans for that event. So that one is taken care of. The pixel art is on the fence in between Dewan Park and the post office. It's a very small project that we did, but trying just to make it a little prettier back there. And we do have some pixels that have to go back in. The wind kind of took some of them out, so we had a pretty good snowstorm there in the winter, and we haven't got them back in, but I think Kathleen and myself will be down there popping those back on the fence again. So Itopa mural, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. It looks nice. It's nice and bright and has been very well received, as well as Ingersoll Lane's mural. And I know the owners of that building are very pleased with the outcome of that particular art piece. The Christmas wreaths, they were restrung and done. Of course, we had the help from Ingersoll Parks and Rec for that. And our window art, Mill Creek Printing, has been working on some historical photos that they've reproduced, and they are quite large, and we'll be popping those into some empty storefronts in the future. The planters and the mounts that were on the bridge and throughout the downtown were also done. And so, as I had stated earlier, the artist plaques are being quoted on, and possibly, hopefully we're moving forward to get those done quickly. And the MOU, I have had various conversations with Michael on that as well. So a memorandum of understanding for the upkeep of the crosswalks and anything else that would pertain to that. So similar to what you would have had with the Pride group. So the celebratory tour is June the 20th. We have also budgeted funds within our new this year's budget that I know is going to council tonight. We have allowed, I believe it was $5,000 a year for maintenance and upkeep of all of these art projects. We don't want to do art projects and have them looking like an eyesore 2 years from now. So we want to keep up on the maintenance and make sure that they're kept right up to par. So this year our focus is to complete all of these projects and get them done. Timelines were pretty tight, and that's why we're still finishing up on the plaques and so on, but the initial concepts, the designs, everything else was okayed, and we have received all of our funding from FedDev, so that's all finished and done. And thank you, Irina, for taking care of us with all that. Appreciate it. And as we move forward, we'll keep council informed of any projects for 2024. We just want to finish these, do a really good job, and then we'll see what we're going to do for next year. So the request for council, I've basically mentioned already. The only one that I didn't was the consideration of the banner poles, and it might be a little bit too late, but we had discussions again in our meeting with Michael in regards to the fact that the banner poles aren't really used for banners too much because now you have the signage at the outskirts of town. So perhaps if what you're intending them for hasn't gone too far forward, I don't know, it would be nice to have pedestrian lighting on there so that, especially when we're doing outdoor events and so on, it's lighting up the gazebo a little bit more. So it's a safety issue as well with it being dark, and especially it's very dark at the lighting of the lights. So Just a thought, if pedestrian lighting could be done, that would be wonderful. If not, we understand that projects are already in the works, and so be it. So, and I think that's about it. I just invite everybody to keep watching for any more further updates on the art installations celebration tour. So that's coming up, and I will have more info out to you as things come together. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the delegation? Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens.
When you were talking, thank you very much for being here and for bringing all this information. When you were talking about the material being used for onto the roads, what about the sidewalk plows? Has anybody thought about whether the sidewalk plows will help to lift that as well?
No, because they're not curved the same. They're not, no. George has looked at that.
Okay.
And we had a good conversation. He came down a couple weeks ago. And that's when we had those full discussions. And he said, no, it wouldn't have the same impact as what we're getting from the current situation. And there's a lot more salt on the roadway as well. So that's causing a lot of issue.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to change this just slightly because Councillor Hughes is not with us in person tonight. So I'm going to move, Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the presentation from Virginia Armstrong, BIA Coordinator, regarding the BIA Town Art installation as information, and that Council approve the request to install the Indigenous crosswalk at the corner of Water Street and King Street East, spanning across King Street. And further, that Council approve the request to install the BIA artwork on the sidewalk within the BIA boundaries and in front of the downtown gazebo. And further, that Council direct staff to investigate the use of the banner poles for pedestrian lighting. Councillor Hughes, are you in favor to second this motion?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now call upon Sam Horton, Kiwanis Farmers Market 2023, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson, and thank you to members of Council for providing time for this brief presentation. On behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll, I bring you greetings. Tonight we're going to speak about the Kiwanis Market, and this has been an operational piece downtown for some 27 years now. It started with some humble beginnings, and I think when I first got here, there were some 6 or 7 vendors that were operating out of that location, which is, of course, right beside the town hall. Over the COVID years, we were very concerned whether or not we would continue to be operational, and it was because of Kathleen Young and members of our Kiwanis group that we decided we needed to take a look at this again and see if it could be revitalized. So sure enough, we fought through COVID, and we are fortunate to this year now have already some 19 plus vendors who have signed up for the market. Includes, of course, our anchor vendors, the Sherry Turners of our world. Thank goodness for Turner's Market, Fleming's. We're having the Old Bakery join us this year, and I can go on. but we're very fortunate to have the support that we've had in the past from council, and it has made it a success. You may have noticed that we have a new sign downtown, and we've, as a club, we've had nothing but positive reviews on that particular sign, and we thank council once again for making that happen through the engineering department. So I do have a couple of requests tonight. As you know, we begin the market typically in the first Saturday of June, and this year is no different. We're looking at June 3rd is the beginning of the market. Now, we have a fair number of special events that are occurring during the market this year that are going to include live entertainment. Once again, we have 2 local singers that and musicians that are going to be joining us. Elvis may join us too, I understand. But we'll have an unveiling of the sign, and we're asking our mayor to join us that day and have a few words about service organizations in the town of Ingersoll and the importance of that. So with that, my first request is that on the Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll is seeking council authorization for exclusive use of the parking lot located on the south side of Town Hall each Saturday from 8 a.m. until 12 noon, commencing June 3rd, 2023, and each Saturday thereafter until October 7th of this year. We found that that area worked very well for us last year. It was safe. It allowed the vendors not to have to concern themselves about traffic. Pedestrian traffic was safe within that parking lot area. So we as an organization really enjoyed that location because it was provided a great deal of safety for all of those vendors and patrons alike. So the second request is that the Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll is seeking council authorization for the closure of Oxford Street in front of the town hall from King Street to the first municipal parking lot entrance or exit north of King Street on June 3rd, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. The purpose of that is that because we are collaborating with the Ingersoll Safe Cycling Committee, and we hope to have a bike repairs, swap, rodeo, so that would be, if we have access to that street, it allows us to work with the children and our other individuals that are going to be assisting us, including the Ontario Provincial Police. So with that, I open myself to any questions and look forward to another great year at the market.
Thank you very much, Tim. I have one question. Can I invite the rest of council as well?
Absolutely.
Perfect. You're all invited.
We would expect you to.
Excellent.
Your worship.
And I'll certainly invite the whole town to come down and to the first market as well. Any other questions of the delegation, Sam? Seeing none. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Use, I believe you have a resolution, please.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councilor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the presentation from Sam Horton of the Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll regarding the Kiwanis Farm Market as information, and that Council approve the request to close the portion of Oxford Street in front of Town Hall on Saturday, June 3rd, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And further, that Council approve the request for exclusive use of the parking lot on the south, on the south side of Town Hall each Saturday beginning June 3rd, 2023 through October 7th, 2023 from 8 a.m. till 12 p.m.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Oh, I will need a seconder for that. Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. Now discussion. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Thanks, Sam, for being here. I'm a member of Qantas, you all know that. And I don't find that I have any kind of conflict of interest here. I don't receive any money from it, but I happily support all of the workings that obviously we do. I, more than anything, want to make sure that the town knows to come out and support all these local vendors that are coming down. It's not, we just provide the setup and getting that going. The Kiwanis Club really is all about bringing those vendors together and having them come down and show off what they are doing within our community. And I really encourage everybody from the town. I would love it. Wouldn't it be great to have like 14,000 people downtown? And that we might have to request, more area to be closed off, but they might actually run out of food and everything else, but that's okay. I think what those vendors are doing down there, we're blessed to have that many. Depending on how things go, we might have to come back to council and ask for more space, but it's, it's been a great, we've come through COVID. And even through COVID, we still had numbers come out, and we had all the safety precautions in place. And so this is a great event, and I really just hope that the town comes out and sees what all is available down there.
Excellent. I certainly agree. I know you've asked me to come out and speak about some relations with the service clubs, but I can certainly do that now as well. This is the great thing about our service clubs. They certainly enhance our lives, and they allow people to be involved and put these great events on. And they're certainly a great partner to the town, and so I have no problem supporting this whatsoever. And you will usually see me down there every week. It's very close, and it's very convenient to be able to get some great goodies for the week, as well as good vegetables. You got to have the vegetables with the goodies, I hear. So everybody come out, support the market. It's a great small town thing. And I do want to compliment you on the sign. Well done, and it's a vast improvement, and it should be there for a very long time. So again, thank you for being great partners, and you certainly have my support. Deputy Mayor, please.
There's not much to add, but I think we all feel really strongly about the contributions that the market makes. So I wanted to underscore that. I think the Kiwanis market and closing the street and partnering is really like the best of what we could hope for in the community. It is good for the community, it's good for our local economy, and it's good for the environment. So thank you for giving that opportunity to our residents.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. May I make just one extra comment?
Yes.
We had a substantial donation that came from Jason and Jennifer, Jason Annika and Jennifer Moorhouse, when they were running the Canadian Tire. And they have remained great partners with the Kiwanis Club and with this town. They are actually coming on June 3rd to join us for the unveiling of that sign, so the official unveiling of the sign. So just a little item there that they're taking their time to come all the way from Picton to join us. So it's a great opportunity to see how those collaborations do work with our private partners too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we will now move on to Mr. Nathan Goetz, Airbnb 43 Hollingshead Drive, please.
On? Great.
Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I see some new faces and some old faces since the last time I presented.
Is there a red light on your microphone?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure we pick you up.
Yeah. You can hear me? Okay. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nathan Gates, and I live at 40 Hollingshead Road in Ingersoll, which is the Harris U subdivision. I have with me tonight two neighbors that live near me and that live near 43 Hollingshead Road, and I'm sure they'd like to speak to you individually during breaks. So I'm here tonight to speak about the Airbnb that is at 40 Hollingshead Road. It came to my attention a few months ago that this home became an Airbnb. Before 43 Hollingshead Road became an Airbnb, it was a long-term rental home for over 5+ years. Having a family of 4 on the main floor and top floor, and a single parent in the basement. Both were residents of Ingersoll, not just long-term tenants. This is an R2 zone residence. The homeowner has been the same since new construction. The homeowner is a real estate agent investor from Mississauga, and I quote his Facebook status is the wealth building machine. I have no issue with someone making $1 with investments. I have investments myself in real estate myself, but my investments do not affect my neighbors. I'm not sure how this homeowner evicted the long-term residents, but I am told it was quite shady. The issues we have had with the Airbnb at 40 Hollingshead Road so far has been parking overflow, parking on the road during the winter, overnight during the winter months, parking and operating snowmobiles, which was done by the short-term rental, Airbnb individuals on the front lawn, and the Airbnb rental, speaking to the neighbor direct beside him, or the Airbnb rental person, asking where her husband was, which is quite creepy. So I did speak to the homeowner from Mississauga, who owns the property, on March 4th about the overnight parking in the winter months, and did send him the town bylaw about it. He said he did nothing. I followed up with him in the morning. He texted me back to state that this is harassment and called the OPP and stated that he is being harassed by myself. That's his choices. The absentee homeowner has no desire to follow local bylaws and his only interest is in the dollar. Our neighborhood is not a place for a hotel motel. So the bylaws that have been broken, so that time that I've had to document it was from March 2nd to March 31st. Overnight parking, I've called the OPP 5 times. Unluckily for him, I work nights and have a camera, so I'm able to see. OPP was called March 4th concerning snowmobiles being parked and operated on the front lawn. I have pictures and call logs if needed. So what are other towns doing concerning this? So that we know what are cities or towns are doing that are familiar or having other issues. So Port Stanley last year voted 4-3 to study the issue and have licensing schemes in place by next year. So Port Stanley's not very far away, obviously in the central Elgin municipality. The town of Goderich, weathering its options, I quote, Canada's prettiest town has over 30 short-term rentals, but as they grow in numbers, it is becoming clear that for some, that they can influence more than just property prices. The mayor quoted, "We have to be careful that we don't erode this rural fabric and rural neighborhoods that we have had for centuries." And that was the Goderich mayor quoted that. So Goderich has a population of 7,600 residents that live there year-round, and they worry that if enough of the community homes get bought up by absentee landowners who operate short-term rentals, it would alter the century-long traditions of neighbors helping neighbors that keeping the community bond together. What's London doing? Obviously a larger city and near us. London is taking it a little bit further. They're choosing to go really far and asking that short-term homeowners have at least $5 million liability insurance policy. Ottawa is the same thing, not the same thing as far as liability. So as of 2022, you must have permits and can only rent your primary home under new rules. Enforcement is done by a short-term rental bylaw aimed at cracking down on so-called ghost hotels. Hamilton is doing the same thing. So it's limited to primary residence of homeowners, meaning that those who own investment properties for the sake of running an Airbnb will no longer be able to do so. So what might work in the town of Ingersoll? Licensing requirements and limited to primary residency. That's just my input. So in the last, social fabric of the neighborhood. If you'd asked me a few months ago, what is social fabric, I would have no clue. I wouldn't have been able to answer it. But after taking some time to read some articles about the issues other towns and cities are having with short-term rentals, I learned what it really means and what we have. What does it mean as far as in our area? In our little subdivision, we have a Facebook group that shares positive and negative sometimes. Neighbors helping each other with snow removals, which we had a big storm. Neighbors came across the road and helped me when my snowblower didn't work. Neighbors across the road recently, because I had surgery, came and took my trash can and brought it up for me. He knew I wasn't able to do it. Neighbors offering items for free on Facebook as they may have extra or not needed. Offers to help cut my grass recently because my neighbor seen me at physiotherapy. He's like, oh, can I cut your grass? I said, no, I'll do it. And I did it myself. And a candlelight vigil for a small child who passed away in our neighborhood recently. So these short-term rentals and absentee homeowners have no interest in our neighborhood and it shows with the snow not being removed and them parking wherever is the most convenient for them. The Airbnb at 30 Hollingshead Road does not fit in the social fabric of the neighborhood, nor do we want a hotel, motel run out of our neighborhood. We have great hotel, motel options available in Ingersoll. It does not fit. I didn't include in my presentation, but it was brought to my knowledge, the home at 3 Brickwood Boulevard in Ingersoll has an enclosed pool, and it was an Airbnb at one time, a while ago. Student rented it, obviously other students joined in, and the police were called. So I only have that as secondhand information, I don't have it as firsthand knowledge. And I do have some pictures if at a later time you want to see it. Now, when I did contact the homeowner, he said he has a variance on the property, and I look any variance that he has on the property that were ever taken, and this was dated a while ago because Michael signed it. It was from 2018. So, and the only variance that I can see, it's kind of, to me, looks like it's written in French, but to reduce the footage of his property. So he stated when I spoke to him that he was going to increase parking on his property. So I don't know, I can't make heads or tails. Maybe somebody can make heads or tails of what this variance means, but he's never acted on this. So he doesn't have a desire to increase the parking. So they park on the road, they park where they choose to. And we've already had issues with snowmobiles being operated on their front lawn. And next to a neighbor beside me who has 2 small children under the age of 5. So this doesn't fit here. And I know we have no bylaw here in town, I understand that. And it takes a while to have one put in place. I grasp that concept. It's not my first rodeo here, so. But I just wanted to present and state the issues that we are having. Probably we will go forward as a neighborhood and put draft email together to Airbnb, and maybe they'll just pull the individual Airbnb permit off of there. But I still think it's important to bring it to the attention of council and a possible bylaw put in place. And that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Are there any questions for Nathan? Seeing none, thank you very much. It is one of those newer type things that this wasn't they were just never there before. And so it's a new thing that municipalities are trying to deal with and try to find different ways of dealing with. So certainly something, yeah, I'll call on Chief Building Official.
Your Worship, I can speak to this briefly. Just to let you know where we are on the subject. I do want to thank Mr. Getz for coming in and speak to us tonight. And I certainly sympathize with the situation. We responded to Mr. Getz back in early March, I believe it was, when he had approached us. The difficulty is the town zoning bylaw does not currently speak to short-term rentals, and neither does the Ontario Building Code. We have references for boarding houses, not more than 3 bedrooms, usually meant to be owner-occupied. We have bed and breakfast, again, limited to 3 guest rooms, and that's usually an accessory use to a single-family dwelling. The problem with the zoning bylaw as written is that at the time that the zoning bylaw was enacted, when the zoning bylaw was put in place, staff had no way to anticipate Airbnbs and other similar sites. Other municipalities have been inundated with this as well. And there have been, in the larger centers, there have been discussions with Airbnb lawyers and staff lawyers for some of the larger city centers, Toronto, Vaughan, Mississauga, those areas. The approach that the other municipalities seem to have taken, pretty much across the board from what I can see, is they've taken a position that if they cannot stop the rentals, that there's nothing there to say we can't do it, then at least they can put a bylaw in place to regulate them. So there's a couple of issues here. We need to determine if the bylaw is written right now, it can be used as an enforcement tool, and that's part of the overall process as well. And then moving forward, what we can do to regulate it and provide some guidelines and some restrictions and to deal with insurances and various things along those lines. I can tell you that senior staff, in conjunction with our legal team and the county planner, are in current discussions, working on revisions to the zoning bylaw, including a short-term rental bylaw, which would hopefully regulate whole home rentals up to 29 days. The reason you use 29 days is because after 29 days, the Landlord and Tenant Act kicks in, and it's considered a lease under the Landlord and Tenant Board, which is why all these sites restrict occupancy to no more than 29 days to get around the landlord and tenant requirements. But it is something that we are looking at, and we do hope to come forward sometime in the near future and present the council with recommendations on how to move forward on this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions for the delegation? Seeing none, I'll call on Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens, please.
Thank you very much for coming, Nathan. Appreciate it. Can you say your last name again for me?
Gates.
Gates, okay. I just didn't want to pronounce it wrong, so I would prefer to ask.
It's German.
I think that you've heard that there's something coming forward. I'm going to defer it to a different discussion as well, but we can always just take it as information. All right. Because it sounds like we've got something moving forward anyway. So moved by myself, Councillor Van Kooten-Bossens, and seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the presentation from Nathan Gates regarding his concerns with 43 Hollingshead Road as information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathan.
Would council like a small break, or would like to keep going? Keep going? Perfect. We will keep going then. We will now move into correspondence and resolutions. First one is a funding request from the Ingersoll Physician Recruitment Committee, please. And that is Councillor Hudson, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Kootenbossen, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the resolution from the Ingersoll Primary Care Recruitment and Retention Committee as information, and that Council approve the committee's request to allocate $1,000 towards the Alexander Hospital 2023 Discovery Week experience to be funded from the Ingersoll Primary Care Recruitment and Retention Committee budget allowance.
Discussion. Deputy Mayor, please.
Councillor Van Kootenbossen, you're on this committee, correct? I just have a question.
I'm not officially on the committee at this point in time, but
Okay,
Councillor
okay.
Hughes is,
Yeah.
and Councillor Hudson is as well.
I mean, my question is, or I guess Curtis too, this is like the perfect opportunity for Ingersoll, and I guess it was just why they didn't ask for more. Like, this must be really expensive to run.
I think the funding's actually adequate. So this is a partnership. The Ingersoll Hospital Auxiliary Group, I forget the other, they're also a partner in this sponsorship, and I think Alexander Hospital as well. So this is enough funding that we can put them up in the Elmhurst versus another type of accommodation, so they get a more positive experience than they may otherwise. The County Physician Recruitment Committee is also funding an evening, I think it's going to be Wednesday evening of that week, where it's open to the entire county. I think Woodstock and Ingersoll are going to partake in that. So there's other funding from other sources as well. So this was adequate to serve the needs of this. But yeah, I agree. It's one of the better things that the committee does. And it's, the timing is going to probably line up for these students to be graduating right when we need physicians. So it's good timing. So.
Excellent. Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move on to item 14, request from Ingersoll Pipe Band, and Councillor Van Kootenbossen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives the correspondence from the Ingersoll Pipe Band as information, and that Council directs staff to advise the Pipe Band to request funds through the annual Community Development Grant Program.
Excellent. Any discussion on that? All I will say is that, for lack of a better time, that I had the honor to attend the Celebration of Life for Mr. McKay, who was Mr. Gail McKay, who was the leader of the pipe band for, well, long before I was born. And so that was a great, I spoke to some of the pipe band members there about this, and so they were absolutely comfortable with that happening. I just want to say that the entire gym at IDCI was filled with the many people he touched in his lives. There's different events and actions, and so that shows you what type of person he was. And the pipe band led him down Cemetery Lane into the cemetery on Sunday, where he was laid to rest. And so that was he was out front leading the whole way as well. So it was a great moment. And, but I certainly appreciate the pipe band coming forward, so we consider that during the budget process. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move on to the Joker's Crown patio, please, and that's Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Christine Nealons of the Joker's Crown as information, and that Council direct staff to investigate the request and bring back a report for Council's consideration at a future meeting of Council.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we will now move on to number 4, Association of Ontario Road Supervisors Enbridge fee, please. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the Association of Road Supervisors, AORS, regarding Enbridge Gas's proposed fees for third-party utility locates as information.
Discussion. Deputy Mayor, please.
I would prefer the consideration of the motion that was drafted by the AORS, but we see we have some correspondence from Enbridge coming next. So it seems like the two are, negotiating through our correspondence, which is interesting. But I did have a chance to check in with the representative who sent the correspondence, and the locate charges are on pause, but not indefinitely. They will need to recoup the cost of getting those timelines up in line with what the bill proposes. So I suppose it's up for council's discussion whether we want to have an opinion on those fees or not, because it sounds to me like the fees will be coming. They're just paused for the time being.
Any further discussion? I'm just of the opinion right now, I believe that the two parties do have different opinions, and so I think that they will certainly have to work those out, and certainly I think the Ontario government should get involved, since they've made some decisions that have resulted in the proposed fees. So I'm hoping that everybody will see, this is going around to different municipalities, and so I hope that will get the attention and bring all parties together to have a resolution of that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Did you want to, Councillor Van Kouten-Bosson, you made it.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, I just turned my head. I guess I have a question in the respect that, and I don't know who can answer it, but if we did support this, I mean, if we don't support it, that's one thing, but if we do support it, then we're throwing our name in against not having it downloaded to the municipality. So is there a downside to us to putting our support behind it in that respect?
My interpretation of the Enbridge letter is they're saying that municipalities will not be as current customers. So current customers won't be charged this fee, and I believe the municipality is. So I believe there may be, again, there's two competing storylines here apparently. So it's one of those things where it may or may not be. We just have to wait and see, but maybe we can, hopefully we'll get some clarification, and we can maybe seek that through AMO or Rome or something like that. Yes.
So if that's the case, can we, instead of just receiving as information, can we direct staff to bring back more information about this then, if that's the case? Not that I want to put more onto staff, but I'm just, we've put our municipality's name behind things before, and if it is going to be a cost that's coming down to the municipality, I certainly would rather us be able to say something against it now, but I would like more information. I apologize that I didn't ask these questions beforehand of staff in that respect, but yeah, I'm just wondering. Thanks.
Certainly can open, there's always the chance for an amendment to the resolution, or even that we could ask to be kept apprised of the situation. I'm sure both Enbridge and the road supervisors would be more than happy to do that and provide any changing information as it comes forward.
Mr. Mayor, I would so move an amendment to that motion to encompass what Councillor Van Kouten-Bosson is requesting, that more information, and that we be kept apprised of any changes in this in the future.
We will get you a
Yep.
How come we got them all on this side?
Because you're lucky.
Rick, they're missing you. You're not writing motions.
Yeah, sure. I so enjoy doing that.
Yes, we can book entertainment for these time streams.
I hear our CAO is very talented.
What music?
We just get the Jeopardy theme going.
Is it time for self-reflection?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, and so I will read the whole thing again, if you so wish.
Just the
Or just the amendment, yes. And further that staff bring back a report and investigate any changes that may come from further negotiations.
seconder for the amendment, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment? That is passed. Now discussion back to the amended motion. Would anybody like the full amended motion read out, please? Seeing none. All those in favor of the amended motion, or sorry, is there further discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, oh, Councillor Hughes.
Excuse me. Just a point of clarification. So we voted to accept the amended motion. So why are we visiting the amended motion again?
So no, we only voted on the amendment to the motion. So now we're
okay.
voting on
Sorry.
the actual motion with the amendment attached to it.
I understand. Thank you.
Two-piece deal.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move on to the Enbridge locate charge, and we have Councillor Bowman, please. Oh, sorry. No, sorry, Councillor Hughes, you have that one, sorry.
Yes, I do. Move on myself, Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Enbridge Gas regarding the proposed introduction of locate charges as information.
Discussion on that. Seeing none, we'll believe we'll be taking care of that in the previous one. So all those in favor?
You need a
Oh, I
seconder,
need a
Mayor?
seconder, please. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens. Your virtual appearance is messing things up, but we accept it. Messing with my flow. Yes. Sorry, discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move into bylaws. I will ask that Councillor Hudson take us into committee of the whole, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, that the committee do now rise out of committee of the whole.
No, you got it.
What?
Sorry. It's okay. Deputy Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Wilson, I
Wrong one.
apologize.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the mover have leave to introduce and go into the committee of the whole on the following bylaws: BIA Levy 2023, Bylaw 23-5253, Building Code Act 1992, Administration and Enforcement Bylaw 23-5260, 2023 Capital Expenditures and Establishment of Rates Taxation Bylaw 23-5261, Amend Fees and Charges Bylaw, Camping Fees Bylaw 23-5262, Amend Zoning for Application ZN 6-22-09, Bylaw 23-5264, Confirmation Bylaw May 2023, Bylaw 23-5265, Council in the Committee of the Whole, Mayor Petrie in the chair. On the motion, the bylaws are accepted as circulated. That constitutes the first and second reading of the bylaws.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That was not clear, so. We will, no, we're just going to committee of the whole here first, so, all those in favor? Hands up? No, okay. Opposed? Okay, that is clear. That was carried. Thank you. So we will now be in committee of the whole. I would like to discuss bylaw 235262. I'd like to move that that is deferred. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Bowman, please. Discussion, and I can just say that I think that that needs a second look, and that we can make sure that those fees are in line with the service that we're offering, and we can have a second look at that one and bring that back at a later time. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is there any further discussion on any of the other bylaws? Seeing none, I will now ask that Councillor Hudson rises from the committee of the whole, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Koot-Bosens, that the committee do now rise out of committee of the whole.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Van Koot-Bosens, third reading, please. Not a problem at all.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the bylaws 23-5253 and 23-5260 sorry, still didn't get it right. 5260 and bylaws 23-5261, and then bylaws 23-5263 through to bylaw 23-5265 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, and that this constitutes the third reading of the bylaws.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move into our second closed session of the evening, and I will ask Deputy Mayor Wilson, actually before we do that, I will, usually we don't, but I'll ask if there's anybody who'd like to make any announcements, since we'll probably, Councillor Van Koot-Bosens, please.
I really do want to, I know I said a few words before, but the Ingersoll Community Cleanup with our 4 different community service groups finally did take place, even with all the weather that we've had. Wonderful weather. It didn't take place on the 22nd, but it did on the 28th. And I really want to thank the residents who did come out. There was approximately 50 people that came out and grabbed garbage bags and gloves and went on their merry way. They may not have picked up garbage that day, but they went out during the week. I checked over at the Ingersoll Fire Hall. Very much thanks to the Ingersoll Fire Hall to having the big bin sit at their property for 3 weeks while we were trying to await that wonderful weather that we got this past weekend. But we have about half a 20 yards, so about 10 yards of waste that are in there. In fact, I put in on Saturday, I went around and picked up a great big treadmill that they had found in one of our creeks. I know, and it was smashed. I don't know where it came from, but I was really appreciative to have the training going on at the fire hall because they helped me get it out of my truck and into the back end. So again, my thanks. It's only with collaborative efforts that we're able to keep our community as clean as it is, and I really do appreciate all of that help. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Councillor Hudson, please.
Just to go on to what Christy said there, I just wanted to do a shout out to all the staff at the Ingersoll Nurse Practitioner-led clinic. They couldn't come out to the big cleanup day, but they also did their own cleanup on Water Street behind Pharmasave where the river runs through. About 8 to 10 bags of garbage just in that little tiny area. So shout out to everybody there.
Further comments?
Sorry, I forgot. I apologize. So I'm very, very pleased that I'm working with the OPP, and we are going to be doing an OPP fraud workshop. I know that there's a lot of our residents who do watch this, so I'm hoping that they are watching right now. And it is going to be happening on Wednesday, May the 17th at the Ingersoll Senior Center. It is the 50-plus center. However, if you wanted to go out and find out about what's happening and how you might be able to stop yourself from being taken in by the scammers that are out there, whether it be on computer or the phone, I really do encourage our residents to sign up and come and hear what OPP Constable Patty Cote has to say. She's also going to be bringing information from the OPP fraud unit as well, and hopefully maybe even somebody from that unit themselves coming to that. It is happening from 11:30 until 2 p.m. and we are feeding you. So they always say that if you bring food, people will come. So I'm hoping it's $5 for lunch. Yes, you should go. You're over 50, you can go. So, Brian, unfortunately, you're not there yet. So, sorry, Mayor Petrie. It's a great lunch. It will be supplied for $5. It's being helped subsidized by the Ingersoll Police Services Board, so I appreciate their support. If we get more than 60 people, the Kiwanis Club has offered support as well to help cover off the rest of the costs for the rest of the people that are there. So please come out, encourage those in our community. Unfortunately, there are people within our community that are being taken for money every single day. And we need to educate and get them informed so that they're not just throwing their good hard-earned money that they've, accumulated and earned themselves to people that just want to take advantage of them. So encourage all your friends and relatives to call the Ingersoll Police Services, not the Ingersoll Police Services, the Ingersoll Senior Center, and sign up for that workshop, which is on Wednesday, May the 17th. Thank you.
Excellent. Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
We'll be very quick. We won't meet again, but on June 1st is going to be the flag raising to celebrate the beginning of Pride Month. And so hopefully council will be there as they're able to do so, and certainly the community, not just on June 1st, but there are a number of Pride activities happening in Ingersoll and across the community. So the more people who come, I think the more fun and the safer everything will be. So that is June 1st at noon in Dewan Park, I believe. Yes.
Excellent. And I will just, there's a couple events coming up. May 10th is McHappy Day. I will have the honor of a childhood dream of flipping burgers, which I never got to do, hopefully. I don't know if I'll get to do that or not, but we'll try. Also on May 12th, Curtis and I will be traveling to Brampton for the Ontario Auto Mayors meeting. They're put on hiatus during the COVID, but it's a group of all mayors that have automotive facilities or within their community, and so we can try to move forward on some issues there, such as large tax items, tax appeals, and maybe get some progress on that. Also, we have the 21st is the town's Blue Jay Day for the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know if there's any tickets available yet, but if you are going, it's going to be a great day and they're going to win, and we'll put on a great show from Ingersoll. Also, a reminder, we do have the ERTH meeting on the 25th, and then on the 28th, it's your day to get the firefighters breakfast. So make sure you show up to that one, support the guys and girls who do our firefighting and their association, and it's always a good breakfast to have. So, and then of course, as Deputy Mayor Wilson has said, that at 12 p.m. the Pride flag will happen in Dewan Park. So it's a busy month. I was at Big Cheese Days on the weekend at the museum. There's 31 different stops on the cheese tour. Ingersoll's the best. It is the hub. Since Ted was here, I'll use that. It's the hub of the earth, and it's the hub of the Cheese Fest. And so there's lots of people who came out and enjoyed the nice weather. Every day in May, there's an event going on. Every weekend in May, there's an event going on at the museum. So make sure you get out. It's going to be a busy time. We're getting in that season where there's always something to do. So make sure you get out and enjoy your community. And yeah, it's that type of season again. So. And again, look forward to everybody at June 3rd at the market opening. Excellent. And with that, if there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion from Deputy Mayor Wilson to go into closed session, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that council do now go into a closed meeting at 8:21 PM pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters. 1, closed session minutes, April 11th, 2023. 2, Section 239(2)E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, assessment appeal settlement proposal. 3, Section 239(2)F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, social media policy.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, and we will now go to the J.C. Herbert Room.